Hey, everyone. Andy Hall, Tobin Templeman, Big Zebra. Here we are.
Mm,
It's Monday.
it is.
Blah, blah, French elections, blah, fascism, blah. I don't know. Donald Trump saying he's the most honest person in the world. War in Ukraine raging. It's just another Monday, right? Not
Isn't it?
just another Monday in the late American Republic. I'm going through the History of Rome podcast. I'm binging through that for the second time, and I'm in the late Republic period right now, and things seem eerily similar. Eerily similar. Sure, not a lot, not as
Mm,
much political violence, of course, but the economic conditions seem eerily similar. Yeah. So
Man,
that's a lot of word
It-
salad I just threw out. How are you guys doing?
that's okay.
Yeah,
Mm,
I would like to be able to stick around a lot longer than Rome did. I mean, Rome fell. Rome
Yeah,
no longer exists, right? I mean,
yeah. They
well, it does in a way.
what's that?
Well, the Roman Empire stuck around in some sense. Our legal system, our architecture, probably a lot of cultural things we aren't even aware of. But as an empire, of course, it's gone.
Yeah. Well, as the we still have the Roman Catholic Church, right?
Mm. Which is
And
always a delight, much like myself.
always Big
Mm,
Zebra, always.
mm. Is
What's up?
Cindy Plaza coming in? I could have sworn that
I hope
last
so.
week she had something that she wanted to talk about
Yeah.
and
Well, she was
couldn't
going to
come
talk
in.
about Islam. Actually, we're going to talk about Islam and Khalid, otherwise previously known as Justin.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know if they are going to be able to. I haven't communicated with Cindy, so I
Right.
know that Cindy was in the first chat, but just had surgery on the heel
On a
too,
heel. Yes,
right?
yes.
It sounds super painful, super
Is
painful.
that where you have to have the Achilles tendon reattached to the heel? Is it that kind of surgery?
I don't know,
I
dude.
don't know.
I know Cindy got it while doing soccer, well, football. That's what they said,
Mm.
and yeah, I don't know. Either way, it sounds super painful. That's going to
Yes.
suggest garden variety painful.
Hmm. Yeah, not the sort of thing some aspirin will take care of.
No, you can't just walk it off. You just
No,
can't.
oh no.
No, no.
Lordy.
Lordy indeed. Lordy indeed. So I was on actually a stream on one of Neil's after party streams, and I saw Simply Secular Dave there. First time I'd seen Dave, like
Mm.
like for quite a while. Of course, there was talking about hockey. You can't get a bunch of Canadians. I think there has to be some kind of equation, right? The likelihood that the discussion will become hockey centered if you have more than three or
You know
two.
something I love about Americans is
What?
that they refer to hockey as ice hockey to distinguish it from all the land hockey they've been playing.
Yeah.
All the hand hockey.
And I mean, I know people play field hockey, but
Yes.
Or like the inline hockey, you don't want to get those two confused.
no, that would be a crisis right there.
It would be.
Hmm.
I'm actually going to go on Wes's channel tonight. I don't think it's going to be live. I think he's going to record it and then post it later on.
Which one is
That's
West?
I can announce. What's that? Wes is the producer for a lot of the Tang, or so for some of the Tang shows.
Okay.
He was doing Faith
And
Not Included.
yeah, he did Faith Not Included. He was producer for the Promethean Secular Frontier. See, I said it right this time. I said it
Okay.
right this time. John Hudson, how are you doing,
Hey,
sir?
John.
Morning, John.
Good morning. I was just thinking about cross-country roller hockey.
Now, being that you're from Texas, I got to ask you: is there a rifle involved?
That's how we propel ourselves forward. How else would you do it?
I'm not native Texan. You got to talk to Tex up there in the corner.
Right. Because if it was like that skiing, that cross country skiing, shooting, sport.
Oh, biathlon.
Yeah, the biathlon. That's pretty cool. Just because they're shooting.
Shooting's fun. You ever went out and shot skeet or anything like that?
I have
Mhm.
done. I went to a shooting range once, and did some black powder shooting, which was like incredible because
Oh,
it was
yeah.
crazy. Because basically there's an explosion in your hand,
Mm.
right? And but
That's my
I have to,
sex life right there.
that's your
Explosion in your hand.
I just want to say this is that it's not an explosion in my hand. I just want to say that.
No, we only have sex remotely, Dr. Kennard, now.
Right, exactly.
And so nothing's in anyone's hand.
That was good.
That was awful.
Dave says, I played ball hockey and roller hockey, but hockey is played on ice with skates. Thank you, Dave.
If there's a silence to be occupied, I have a funny story about Americans you might like.
Oh, okay, sure. I like funny stories.
Well, I was doing some business on eBay looking for something to get, an electronic device, and it was for sale in the US, not in Canada yet. So I wanted to hurry up the process. And so I was on eBay bidding on a PDA, a personal digital assistant.
Yes.
So I'm doing these bids, but whenever I find one, almost always the seller is an American, and they've listed that it's only to be sold within America. And you can understand why, because it's easy to calculate postage and whatnot.
Yeah.
But my problem is that, of course, I live in Canada. So I get this idea to write to Americans asking them would they consider taking bids from Canada. And I said, hi, your listing says you only shipped within the US, but would you consider shipping to Canada? We're pretty good neighbors, you know. We're quiet and we keep the lawn looking nice.
You do.
We do. And all these Americans wrote back. They said, yes, I'd be happy to ship to Canada. And then they'd mention something nice about the lawn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So this sort of little banter, which was just, it was just there and back. It was lovely.
I hear the universal health care helps keep the lawn green. That's what I've heard.
Yes, because if you break your leg, it gets healed, and then you can go out and push your mower.
Yeah.
Keep on working.
Sorry, the subject went back to healthcare again.
For me, if you haven't noticed, I do I hit the drums a lot. Like I go back to the talking points like, hey, that's why you guys don't suck.
You have to admit they're really apologetic too.
Hey, Cindy Plaza's here.
Is she here?
So are you ready for El Presidente Marie Le Pen? Cindy Plaza, are you ready to move from Belgium? Where are you going to go to? Where's your country that you're going to flee to? Is it Canada? Because that's my country. That's just because it's close. I don't know. Maybe
I'm already in Belgium, so I'm pretty much safe. Whatever happens.
Cindy Plaza, World War I, World War II. Come on, we both know the history.
Yeah, but now there are the headquarters of NATO here, so yeah. I guess I'm a little bit safer than previously. But yeah, it's not really scary because it's been like this for almost 20 years. Almost every time Le Pen father or daughter was on the second term, and every time people say, well, we cannot let fascists take over, and then Macron will win with 75% on the second run. So
is that what the pollsters say right now? Is that what the pollsters say?
I have no idea. I think there is a rule that we can't have polls between the two votes, I think.
Oh, right.
In order to avoid influencing people. But I'm not entirely sure.
Interesting.
But yeah, anyway, what scares me more is that the overall tendency in the West to move to the right. That's why I made a video about it. But yeah, it's. I think that the biggest problem is this, as you said in the video today, is the tendency to autocrats to believe that one people can have the solution to all problems. I think that's what we need to fight, because we're not living in the Middle Age.
Yeah.
We live in a very, very complex world, and no one can have all the answers to a problem, especially if that person has autocratic tendencies.
Yeah.
Like Zemmour has. In fact, Zemmour is much, much worse than Le Pen, and I'm glad he only had something like 6%, which is way too much still. But
so just some background. The other far right candidate, what was their name again?
Zemmour, Eric Zemmour.
All right, so this is an example, at least in my opinion, of how the Overton window gets pushed. Right, the Overton window is about. See, you're smiling. So it's about what topics are okay to talk about in pleasant society, more or less. That's like a simple way of saying it. So when you have a far right candidate, the kind of crazy candidate doesn't look as crazy, and that's what we see in France.
Yes, and that was one of the points I made in the video. I talked about this because it is a very very important process to understand it and to witness, because it is manipulated on purpose.
Yeah.
For years we had the far right sending people on TV to talk about things that nobody talks about, like abortion, like the right to vote for some people. Nobody talks about it, and yet once in a while you have those fringe people coming and put this in the talk, so that the Overton window slowly moves to the right. Zemmour is different. He's just I think he's very, very much like a mix between Trump and Hitler. He has this hate towards North African people that Trump doesn't really have. But he also has this massive ego and this will to rewrite history. He wrote several books already, and he has this view that France has this Christian history, and it's funny because he's from Algerian descent, so he's not real French according to his own metrics, but he still hates those because France has a very hard history with Algeria. They were a colony. Then when they tried to leave, we made some pretty nasty things over there, and so then they started coming into the country, and so there's a lot of history there. And so as much as the US has this racism towards black people, in France it's mostly directed to Northern African people, like Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, those countries. And so Zemmour did this, in his books. He draws this painting of France that's of Christian history, and that this is our culture. We are a Christian country, which is not true, because, as you know, since 1905, we pushed away Christianity from every public place in France. So he's trying to rewrite history in order to push his narrative.
And that's common for authoritarians, especially fascists, is to create. I see, Big Zebra, is to have this kind of fictitious, glorious past, this glorious past that they're trying to bring the society back to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is a common ploy for fascists. So how many, do you know how many people actually voted? I mean, percentage of the population voted in France, Cindy?
Let me tell you.
You know, as Cindy's looking up the numbers, I want to point out that Marie Le Pen also was saying very favorable things about Putin not too long ago.
Yes. And when Trump was elected, she was one of the first to fly over there and try to get a meeting with him in the Trump Tower, which she didn't get, which was pretty embarrassing. But yeah, we have about 65% people who voted.
Yeah.
So that's 35% abstention, which is quite high.
Yeah, it is. It is quite.
Do you think these right-wing types, if they take charge in France, will do something about all those French people in that country? Because, you know, it's just swarming with French people.
I like how you're putting, I like what you're doing there, Big Zebra. I like what you're doing there.
Yeah, it could be misinterpreted as racist, but it's really not.
I think it's so absurd, but
yes.
Yeah.
It's like we have the same problem as you have in the US, where it's very hard to determine what is really an American. How many generations do you have to be in America to consider yourself an American?
Yeah,
because Trump is what, third generation American, or
yes,
second generation?
Trump. DRUMPF. That was his actual name.
Yeah, indeed. So it's the same here. We've had a big wave of immigration in the 70s because the economy was booming, and then there was the end of the war with Algeria. And what happened is the governments at the time, they created areas outside cities to put all those migrants together. And
those are called ghettos, by the way, everyone. Those are called ghettos.
Exactly. Yes. And that created a lot of problems, obviously, and still does.
Yeah. Putting people all together, you know, yeah, that's creating ghettos. I'm just going to say something radical here. Creating ghettos, probably not the best idea. Probably not the best urban planning.
And especially since afterwards you complain that they don't try to mingle with the rest of the population.
Yeah.
You say they're not even trying to integrate themselves with our tradition, with our population, etc. But why is that? It's because we put them in ghettos.
Yeah. You're specifically creating communities away from the general population. So what, you know, you play stupid games, you get stupid, you get stupid results, basically, and this is exactly what happened. Yeah. The Romans, for a good, they're going to go back to Rome right now because I've just got Rome on my mind, is that what they would do with large groups of immigrants, they would specifically just like spread them around. It's like, if you want to come in, then, it was far easier for them to integrate themselves into society that way.
It just makes sense, like that it would exactly help them integrate, help them understand that the place that they've now found themselves, if they're coming from a completely different environment.
Well, we see the same in America. People come here and, that don't assimilate to the culture because they're not involved. I mean, there's the separation still there here,
Yeah. Here it's a lot of tradition from a lot of the history of redlining in this country. We're still suffering from a lot of communities.
It still goes on today.
Yeah, and still goes on. Redlining
is a law, but it goes on.
Redlining is a practice by urban planners, real estate agents, developers, and they would just put red lines around certain areas that were meant for poor people, that were meant for minorities. And so you wouldn't give loans to people of color who wanted to buy property outside of those zones. And you would put nasty businesses, like pollution, spewing industries near or in those areas. And it's pernicious. That's what it is. The effects of it just goes on for generations.
Well, it was really blatant too. There was a place in Salt Lake, out on the outskirts of Salt Lake, that it was called White City for a reason. There's White Settlement, Texas. I'm just, and you go to White Settlement, it's still pretty White Settlement. I'm just saying.
I'm not surprised, John Hudson. I'm not surprised. Because you got branding right there. You got branding.
With that, that's the end of the show.
That's the end of the world, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes,
So the final, as I understand it, I think it's April 24th. That's when the runoff election is going to be. That's going to be when Le Pen and Macron actually go head to head. I think it's the 24th of April, which is really soon. Which is soon.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks between the two rounds.
Yeah. So I'm going to start asking stupid questions about the French political system. Because now, how do I know in parliamentary systems? I'm going to ask you I'm backing up my own stupidity. I'm going backwards to ask the simplest question, the clearest way.
It's not stupidity, it's ignorance. That's a big
difference. So in terms of people, the legislative branch, how do those seats get determined? Are there?
They're fully elected.
They're fully elected. So it isn't just the fact that the ruling party or the percentage of the vote, people get divvy up their seats like that. It's like we have here in the States.
It's individually votes. Individual vote. So you vote for a representative. Then the higher house is different. They're elected by the what we call député. The député is the representatives, and the Senate is the Senate in the U.S. And so it's indirect vote for the Senate and direct vote for the.
Now, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I learned something new today. I feel like I'm in the last 2 minutes of South Park. I learned something new today. So that's interesting because here in the States, we used to have that system. Senators were not originally elected by the people, but rather, I think, I want to say state assemblies. And that changed, I think, in the 1920s during the Progressive era. But in France, the higher house is voted on. Those senators or those people are voted on by other politicians. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So y'all have no electoral college or anything like that?
It's similar. We call them grand electors, and they are other politicians. So let me get you the right information.
Sure.
So every 3 years we change a third of it.
Oh, okay.
And then depends on the size of the cities. They get a certain number of delegates, and those delegates elect the senators.
Interesting.
Is it like in the United States where like the poorer parts are right wing and the more educated and financially well off people are left wing?
So we don't have any gerrymandering because
Hmm.
the uh, the the cut is made through the um, already existing. How can I say that? We have 96 areas in France. We call them départements, and those 96 uh, départements they go into 22 regions, and so the voters are designed and chosen by department. So there can be any gerrymandering because that's the legal splitting of France and has been since a very very long time.
Hmm.
But they are more rural departments, but the split is not as strong as it is in the US.
Yeah, I mean, because it could change from block to block in the United States.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, because there's actually more of a social safety net in France. There's less of an incentive for people feeling left behind.
Yeah.
So here in the States, you get out of the city, or if you are suddenly don't have money in your pocket, if you don't have a quote unquote good job, then I think that creates incentives for you to vote right wing. To tell you the truth, here.
Yeah, because the right wing politicians they offer you simple solutions to your problems, and which the left doesn't tend to do as much. And so, because of that, then they get a lot of traction.
Yep. Yeah. I think one of the big problems, and you can see it with the COVID responses here in this country, it's just that the left does not know how to communicate in bullet points and emotionally too. You know, and I think this goes for the skeptics too, and the atheists and progressive, and for people on our side. Um, we think that a perfect syllogism is going to sway hearts and minds, and it won't, and it doesn't. We can see that time and time again. It's okay getting emotional.
And another big problem we have on the left is that, at least in the US, you fight to keep what you already have. So you don't have big talking points like the right does. The right says we want to ban abortion, so that gathers a lot of people. We want to ban gay people, and those simple ideas they bring people on. But on the left, you just say don't take me that, and that doesn't bring people as much as
Yeah.
the other ideas.
No, I can
So we
definitely.
need to be like, instead of like banning people, we want to be like, we need to be fighting for equality or arguing for equality.
Well, we have
But
to be.
that's very,
Oh, go ahead, Cindy.
it, it it doesn't touch people. If you say we need to ban abortion, then you bring a few images of uh, fetuses or babies dismembered, and then you have thousands or millions of people behind you. When you say we fight for equality,
Yeah, that's an abstract
people
reason. That's an abstract. That's an abstraction.
think we are in the US, we are free,
Yeah,
so we don't need to fight for freedom or for equality. We already have this.
yeah.
And the only concern are the minorities, and by definition, minorities don't bring you enough votes. So
Hmm.
yeah, we need to find new ideas to get people around, and we don't have those at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. On that note, we're closing in on the end of this show. And Theo, Belgium is always close to falling apart in quarrels. Wow, bold. That's some smack talk from the Swiss right there. Um, But I mean, that is an interesting point too. We Swiss people also hate each other, but we stick together because we hate other countries even more. Reasonable positions, I would hold. Reasonable positions. On that note, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cough. Sorry.
Theo, send me a watch. I want watches.
Tobin, thank you. Big Zebra, thank you. Cindy, thank you. John Hudson, thank you. Shambhala Hamla, everyone. You're doing the same crazy thing tomorrow. Take care.